Hi, I'm David and this is my YouTube channel, and this little lesson is about building usable scales. What we're talking about is building scales that are versatile, that are movable, that cover the entire range of a scale, including the chromatic notes if you need them, and that allow you to link in your mind the chords that you're playing, bar chords in this case, and allow you to jump into a scale, go back to a chord, play a few licks, back to a chord, the things you normally would do if you're in a group. Now, let's talk major and minor scale for a second. We know that there's a major scale. I'm just going to play it in an open position. It's a C scale. And what about A minor? Well, A minor is... And if you name the notes, they're the same. The difference is that you just simply play them starting at a different point in the circle. So if you look at the names of the notes and write them in a circle, starting from A and going back around to G and then back to A, you'll find they start at C, it's a C scale. If you start at A, it's an A minor scale. And these scales have intervals. In other words, there's a distance between C and D. There's 2 frets. Between D and E, 2 frets. Between E and F, 1 fret. So that pattern as intervals for every major scale is 2-2-1, 2-2-2-1. The minor scale is simply 2-1, 2-2, 1-2-2. If you write those down in a circle, once again, you'll find that they're the same pattern. They simply start at a different point. In other words, what the scales we're going to learn are both the major scale for a particular key and its relative minor scale. So for example, right here, that's G, but it's also E minor, just a different starting point. Now let's talk a little bit about what you really need to be able to do to play good lead, to play good melody. First of all, you always have to cross pick. And I'm going to move my guitar over here so the little camera can see it, but I'm always doing this. If I'm strumming, so even if I'm jumping around from string to string, everything is always this, whether you're arpeggiating or anything else. That's often called cross-picking, but you need to be able to do that all the time. The second thing is that these scales use the little finger religiously. They're there. You'll always have to use them. There's no escaping it. And even though great players like Eric Clapton and Joe Bonamassa don't use their little fingers playing lead hardly ever, you don't see classic players playing. You don't see jazz players doing that. That's a rock and roll thing built around the blues and the need to do a lot of string choking. You shouldn't play like that. If you want to use your ring finger to choke a string that should be played by your little finger, great. Right there, at that moment, do that. But otherwise, the little finger is needed where the little finger is always needed. And we'll talk about the little finger for a minute. The little finger is a little tough. And what I see people do a lot of times, and I'm turning my guitar so you can see, they'll stick their hand out, and the little finger, I'm going to play, this is a bar C as D. This is a D chord from the bar C, which I use all the time. A lot of people will stick that little finger out, and it'll be basically flat. It'll look like that. You have very little control over that. You can't apply much pressure. You can't really work with the hand that way. You can't lift it very well, and it tends to flop. That knuckle at the end will flop back and forth on you, even the one in the middle sometimes. What I do is I move my elbow in a little bit, and I keep a bend in every knuckle of that finger so that I activate this muscle in the pad of my hand. And that muscle will build over time, and it'll give you strength so that your little finger becomes a highly reliable member of the team. And there's nothing you can do about it. You simply have to work on it, practice it slowly, feel the strength in it, work on keeping that curve in your finger, your little finger, that happens so naturally in the other fingers. The other fingers don't have that problem. There's bigger muscles in there. The little finger has to be trained. Fretboard attack is an important issue. Remember that when you're playing, what you want to do is come down on that note from above, keeping your finger separated from all the other strings, being right behind the fret. And the best way to know if your attack is correct is to play a note, and you need to hear it clearly. You don't want to hear any buzzing. You don't want to hear any other note being played. And we have a lot of practice that we have to do to make that happen. Now, next thing I'm going to talk about is closed and open scales. A closed scale is one that has no open strings. For example, if I play, I can move that up here. That's B flat. That's C, right? I can move that dude anywhere I can reach it. But if I play a scale like this, it's got open strings in it. If I try to move it up, it doesn't work. So I'm going to talk today about closed scale patterns. Those are the ones that you can move around. They're the ones that are most reliable. Open scale patterns are a little more complicated and they're not very flexible, so you don't get a lot of bang for your buck. I know them, I've learned them, but I want to teach about closed scales today. Here's my model, and this is very important stuff. I start out, and I'm going to use G as an example. Here's my G chord. You all know this one. It's based on E. It's called an E bar, but it's up here at this, and the G notes here are the 6th string, the 4th string, and the 1st string. Those are all G's. So the question I ask myself is, what scale is closest to that? Well, if I take my G and I start going down the scale, F sharp, E, D, C, B, A, G, I end up with the fact that my index finger's my lowest fret is fret 2. My highest fret is fret 5. I assign the index finger to the lowest part of the scale, which in this case is the 2nd fret, my middle finger to the 3rd fret, ring finger to the 4th, little finger to the 5th, and potentially the 6th. So you start out and find that home position and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you always play with the correct finger on the given fret. You never substitute some other finger. Unless you're doing a scale walk or linking or something like that. I'm saying normally in the chords that I'm teaching you, you do that all the time. Now, let me give you the example of this. Here's the G chord, and then here's a 2-octave scale. That's G. I'm not going to go into every note and why it's there. Most of you know what the pattern is, and you know how to find them. You know what the notes are, so you can just locate them. This, excuse me, is the pattern for chords based off of the E bar. So, but if you try it on F, there's nowhere to put that other finger, so you have to use an open scale. It starts on F sharp, so I can use that same pattern. And now all of a sudden I'm playing an F sharp. Maybe I don't even know those notes, but I'm playing an accurate major scale in the key of F sharp, or G flat if you want. And I can move these up the scale just like I do chords. And I'll know that even if I'm not familiar with the notes up here, let's say I'm doing something really ugly. Okay, there's B. I'm playing in B. I might not know that B has 5 sharps and know what all those sharps are, but I can reliably play the B scale just like I play a B chord. And then over time you can learn, excuse me, over time you can learn what those notes are and remember what your 5 sharps are and link it back to music. Now, what are the other primary bar chords we're going to talk about? I'm talking about building scales from intuitively a bar chord position. Well, one of them is this. There's a C chord. Some people play it like this. People play it like this. This is really, I call it an A bar because it's really barring the open A and moving it up. Well, this one has a scale where I say, where is my C? Well, my C's right here. Once again, my home fret is the lowest fret. That's the second fret. Third fret, fourth fret, fifth fret. Okay, that's cool. However, this one has a bit of a walk in it, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Another one, and here's D, played with a C bar. So here's a C chord, and I'm going to make it with my second, third, and fourth fingers. Move it up 2 frets. There's a D chord. Now, where's my D? So where's my scale? It's all just D. Sounds great. Now, once again, my lowest fret is 2, then 3, 4, and 5. So that is the scale that you use when you're playing with the C bar. Now, you don't have to play the C bar. Just think it in your head that, oh, if I were to play a C chord, if I were to play a C chord right here, this would be the key of D. So I can just put my little finger where that is, and I know where everything else goes. The final one is G. Now, nobody plays a G bar. I mean, you can do it, but it's pretty awkward, and it doesn't sound any better than that. So why bother? This G bar on the second fret is an A chord. So if I start here, and I'm playing, and I look, this is my A. So let's put the little finger there. Now this one again has an example where, now I'm out there 5 frets higher than my home position. So that's the way you do it from the G bar. So once again, there are 4 bar chords that are normally used. E bars, here's F. A bars, here's B flat. C bars, here's D. G bars, here's A. Each one of them has an associated chord pattern that we're going to talk about in a minute here. So now we're going to go into each and every one of those scale patterns and talk about what it does. All right, we were talking about bar chords and their associated full scale scales, full note scales. Let's start with E. Remember, here's your E chord. Your E bar looks like this. This E bar on the 3rd fret is G. So what's the associated scale pattern? I'm going to think of it as starting here on my G finger. And remember that I have to move up. I've got B to play and I have to play E, so my index finger needs to be homed or rooted, anchored on that 2nd fret. And therefore I need to start with my index finger, my middle finger over G. So I'm playing the chord here, but mentally I know that my G's right here. I put my index finger there and I start to walk up the scale. Now you can talk those notes out in your head. You can look them up. If you just simply go through it slowly, you'll see what they are. I hope you can see my hand, but I don't want to detail every single note. Now, the next one we're going to talk about is the C bar. If I take a C chord and I make it with the next 3 fingers, which isn't as hard as you'd think, and I slide it up, there's D flat, there's D, there's E flat, okay? I use this all the time. A lot of people don't, but they should. So let's play D. So if I'm playing here, where is my D? It's right here, under my little finger. So let's play a scale. D major scale. Notice once again that to play the E, the lowest fret that I need in the scale is the 2nd fret. So my home position for my index finger is on the 2nd fret again. And I'm playing the 2nd fret notes with my index finger, the 3rd fret notes with my middle finger, the 4th fret notes with my ring finger, and the 5th fret notes with my little finger. And remember that the scale is really 6 strings. So although this is a single octave, let's start from the bottom. F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A. There's your D scale. So it's a mental mnemonic. It's a way of thinking about it. For the C pattern, your root is here under your little finger. For your E pattern, which starts here, your root will be here under your middle finger. Now, the next one we're going to talk about is G. Again, here's G. Now let's just bar it and move it up. I'm going to move it up again because most people know A better than they know A flat. So here's an A. So where's my A? Well, it's right here. So I need to range from this note, which is E and A. So once again, my index finger's on 2, my middle finger on 3, ring finger on 4, index finger on 5, and I start. There's your bad problem with the scale pattern. It's nice, but it has a big reach. So here's A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp. And that is the scale pattern that lets you play every note in the A scale across 2 octaves by starting there. Remember, you can jump up here and play A and use the E pattern. That's up to you. Well, that one is easier, but they both work. The final one is the A pattern bar chord. Here's A. If I move it up to the 3rd fret, this is C. So where's my C? Well, here's one of them. On the 5th string, 3rd fret. But once again, to play the scale, I need to put my, guess what, middle finger on the 3rd fret. Therefore, my index finger is homed on the 2nd fret again, and it sounds like this. It looks like this. But notice here, that would be out of the scale. So. But what if I want to go higher? Now, the other scales that we've played, going higher didn't require any magic. But this one's a little different. If I play, there's my C on the 3rd string, 5th fret. The next note I want is D, which is right here. Then E. But how do I get to the F? Slide it up? No, that doesn't work. Instead, we do what I call a walk. So here I am. But now, I'm going to raise the home position by putting my index finger on the 3rd fret to catch that D. Then my ring finger catches the E. My little finger catches the F. So what happens is a walk, in my vernacular, my way of talking about things, is a time when you move the home position. You actually skew up the fretboard or back down the fretboard. So I'm going to play this part of the scale. Play this part of the scale here. That's, oh boy. So if I start here, everything's good so far, but now I'm going to raise up and play the D with my index finger, and the rest of the notes that I can reach, I'm going to play as though my home position were the 3rd fret, not the 2nd fret. I call that a walk, and there's a lot of scales, more complicated ones that contain walks, and that's one of the ways that you can join scales together. As a side note, remember that when you're playing a song, the notes you're playing are the notes of the key signature of the song. If a song is in G and goes to a C chord, that doesn't mean you're going to play an F natural. You're going to play an F sharp because that's in the key signature. And don't just play the scale of a chord's root name, its tonic name, like C or E flat. You've got to think, what key is the song in? So let's recap here a minute. The trick here, if you can call it that, is you want to have scale patterns that you can memorize, that you can use in a variety of ways, that cover every note in the major and minor scale, that use all 6 strings, use all 4 fingers. And once again, the basic ones, and there's others I can talk about later, are if I'm playing a G, the scale I associate with that starts down here on the low G and goes up like this. If I'm playing a C, if I'm playing in the C variety, here's a C chord, played it as a D with a barring on the 2nd fret. My root is here. Okay. If I'm playing a G bar, again, it's conceptual. Then my root note is down here on with the little finger on the 6th string, 5th fret. That's A. Now, once again, the C, which is the only one with a walk, my root note is here. Think of the bar chord. And I start off. So, to recap, you need to use your little finger. You need to cross pick. You need to be able to play every note in the scale, but you don't improvise that way. You just need to have access to every one and be able to land on it reliably. Then, like a piano player never has to worry about actually reaching the key. It's right there in ivory or plastic or whatever, right in front of his finger. He's just got to hit it. You need to be the same way on a guitar. You need to be able to reach every single note every single time. There's tricks you can do, hammerings, pull-offs, chokes. All of those are nice, but they're not the bread and butter of guitar playing. Anyway, I hope you've been able to gain something out of this. Remember, you can always slow down and watch very slowly what I do from frame by frame if you want to. And I hope you visit my channel again. Thanks a lot.